All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Ebonie, a.k.a. Fit Mom Diva of Simplicity Health Style, and today we have Miss Delanea on the line with us. How are you, Delanea?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking time out of your day. I really do appreciate you. And you guys, she is such a gem full of wisdom and knowledge, and I promise you, you will be able to gather some really good, awesome content from her today. And I really appreciate your presence and being here. And if you stick around to the end, you will have an opportunity to get a complimentary gift. So let's listen to what she wants to share with us today. Delanea, start us off by sharing one motivational quote that really inspires you and gets you going.
All right, so I hope this is safe. I have two.
That's fine.
I'm going to share two. They're both scriptures, and they kind of are interconnected. So the first one is Proverbs 13:12. It says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life." And then the other one is Galatians 6:9. It says, "So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up." So those are my two life verses to help me to remember in dark times not to release my hope, because it makes your heart sick when you do that, and your heart is the epicenter of everything that you are. So to be healthy, have to hold on to my hope, and then I have to also remember that if I don't give up, then I'm going to see exactly what I've been working for. I just have to not quit. So those are my two.
That is so beautiful, and I'm actually holding on to those messages right now as we speak with particular goals that I have in my own life. And I think that it's so important to realize that we go through seasons and it's a up and down process sometimes, but to don't lose sight of the prize. And too often people give up on their dreams and their goals because they're like, oh, this is too much. I can't handle it. But if they stick with it long enough, they'll see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about your own experience where maybe you didn't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel and you had to overcome some obstacles, but at the end of the day, you were able to bring that goal or that dream to fruition?
So for me, the thing that I feel like my darkest point in my life was when I lost my mother. And I lost my mother. She was 49 years old. I was 29. And it was very unexpectedly, right? And my mother and I were like best friends. Like the kind of people, like we would if we were both off work, we'd sit on the phone and talk to each other all day long. So we were like very close. And my mom had everything to do with everything that I believe about my faith and everything. You know, she laid that foundation for me. And so when she had this episode that happened, and it was very sudden, and, you know, I never imagined that she was going to actually die. So for 7 days, my mother was on life support. I never even imagined it. Like I would literally call her cell phone every day to give her a voicemail of what they were saying. Because I just thought she's going to get up and she'll be able to hear this, you know, right in the moment. And so when my mom died, it challenged everything that I believed. And it was the first time, now I've been through many things in my life, but it was the first time in my life that I did not have my main warrior to war with me through something, to be that voice of encouragement. And it just got really dark because I just didn't believe that there was any good that could come out of it, you know? And so it probably took 6 to 9 months for me to even like start talking to God again. Like I was so hopeless. And that's why that scripture is so important to me, because I was so hopeless. I didn't really understand what my life was supposed to look like. And I didn't know what to believe. And I was so afraid to say to God, like, I am pissed off about this. This is not what I thought was going to happen. And so because I was trying to withhold my emotions, now you and I both know God knows, right? But right. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say that out of my mouth. So I, held that in. And it was the day that I finally said that, like, I am mad about this. I'm angry about this. And I was very vulnerable with God to let him know how I felt. And it's not like I just popped out of it in that moment, but that began the journey out of it. And out of that birthed a lot of the things that I'm doing now. And so what I realized is that at the darkest point of that time, there was light that was going to be there, but I just had to keep my eyes open and trust that it wasn't everything that I did believe wasn't fake. You know, I had to trust that, you know, that this stuff is really real and that God loves me. And God was showing me that he loved me all the way through it. But it was just that communication where I had always, you know, been a person to pray and things like that. And also within that time, my husband and I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and we were alone. We worked opposing shifts. So it was just a very lonely time in my life. And so it just really got dark. I had never dealt with anything to that degree of darkness. And so I had to dig my way out of it. But as I did that, as I started taking steps and started to believe, again, my dreams that I had forgotten about started to wake up, you know, and then I just started saying, you know what? One thing that I learned from my mom dying suddenly at the age of 49 years old was that you don't know how long you have.
Yeah.
So you have to start realizing that if you're still here, one thing that I accepted is that I'm still here. So if I'm still here, there is work for me to do here. There's something that I'm still here for. And so I started to kind of plow out, and, you know, a lot of the things that I do, my social media page, is all about encouraging people and lifting people's hope. And then I also have a women's organization that I lead that was birthed out of that. Like so much of what I do, even like making my writing public, all of that kind of stuff, by starting my blog, all of that happened after that. So it was like I had to come through that to really realize, number one, that sometimes you have to have a moment to say, okay, this is, I believe this, like in my guts, like I know this is true. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And by me realizing that, it's like, even though it got dark and I really didn't know how to get out of something like that without my mom, I realized that all the lessons were in there. And when I stopped trying to cover or trying to be strong, trying to be this person who was just going to be strong and power through it, and I started to become vulnerable, not only with God, but with my husband, with my family, to say, like, I'm struggling, you know. And when I did that, it's like, wow, the light popped in, and then it's just been good. I mean, grieving is not, to me, is a never ending thing, but I do understand the purpose of why I'm still here, and so that gives me hope.
So with that whole process and you recognizing, well, I'm still here and I still have a purpose and my work is not done, what is some of the support that got you through that? And what would you say to people that don't necessarily have a strong support system? So they're experiencing these external circumstances coming to their life. They've had this goal or this dream since they were a child, for example, but it seems like one thing after the other, things just keep happening, and they feel like no one's here to really help support my goal. What kind of encouragement or resources or tools would you offer to those people?
Yeah. So for me, I think that sometimes when the idea of support can be misleading. I think that in order to be supported, you have to make yourself available for that. Yeah. And so often, you know, you can have people who are really going through a lot of things and really struggling, but we live in a society where that's not okay. It's not okay for you to struggle and to not, you know, and so everybody it feels obligated to be okay. And so I think the first step of receiving support was exactly what I had to do, which was be honest. I mean, I spoke at my mom's funeral when people spoke to me on the phone, you know, because by this time I'm not living in my hometown with my family. So people are speaking to me on the phone, and I'm not giving off like I am struggling here. I'm giving off that, you know, I'm okay, because again, in my head, I didn't feel like it was okay not to be okay. So I think that the first thing is to understand that this life that we live, that we're not isolated in our struggles. Yeah. You know, we're not alone and on an island struggling all by ourselves. We have different struggles and different capacity of struggle. And I think that, you know, something that's beautiful that is happening is that this message of it's okay not to be okay is starting to become a prevalent message. And I think that that's helping people, because when you realize that you don't have to be okay, it's like, okay, I mean, you can get help then. So I think that's the first step, is being honest with where you are. And
Right.
then you have to build, if you don't already have relationships, you have to make vulnerability is the hardest thing to do, but it is the most important thing to do as it relates to connecting with other human beings, you
Right.
know? So you may not have, you know, sisters or people that you can count on that are your relatives, but you have to then start to figure out how to get yourself into something where you can connect with people, and not always thinking it's got to be a bunch of people. Sometimes you will connect with one person who will hear your story or know your story and relate to what you have to say, and then that'll be the catalyst of something. So I think that being willing to be courageous in the fact that we struggle, and understanding that the person that you admire the most also struggles. It's nobody that's without it. And then being honest about that and asking for help. Because I think that the thing about it is nobody can read our minds. Nobody can know
Yeah.
that we need help unless we say we need help. So I think those two things are important. And then believing that you're worth support. Because when sometimes we don't believe that we're worthy of something, and so we won't reach out our hand and say, we need help digging out of this. I need help to, you know, see myself differently, or whatever the case may be. So I think we have to be willing to be vulnerable, to have faith enough to know that we're worth it, and then to kind of get that blockage off your mind that is just you. Because I feel like that's the most dangerous place to be, when you think that you're the only one who's going through something. It's what makes you high. So when you realize that it's not just you, and then you extend your hand out, you know, and for me, it was prayer, like asking God, who, like asking him to send people into my life, and then really trusting the people that came into my life, you know, and really building with them, and not going from 0 to 100, you know. Sometimes we have a thing about that where you go from 0 to 100. It's like, okay, people got to get to know you. So you got to extend yourself too. And I believe that you will be able to be supported if you do those things.
Yeah. And one wonderful thing that you and I talked about is how you took some time off of social media. And I know that a lot of people are going to be listening to this interview because they found out about it on social media. But one thing that I love is that you took some time off of social media. You identified people in your immediate circle that could be of support to you as well. Because I think that sometimes we have a tendency to spend too much time on social media, and then when we're off of it, we look around and like, well, who are my real homies and my real friends right here in my own town, you know? Can you talk a little bit about the emotional and mental process through taking that time away?
Yeah. So I did this. So this interesting enough, when you found me, I had only been on social media for about 2 weeks. And so, but I took some time off because I realized that I realized that social media is a supplement to whatever you're doing. Social media can't be your everything, you know? And so I realized that I was spending so much time on social media. I mean, I would be, you know, going to work and I have to ride the elevator to go up to work. And that whole time is people all around me. And I would have my head down looking at my phone. Doing something, just so distracted from being present in my everyday life, my everyday people that I'm coming into contact with. And I realized, like, okay, I need a break. But when I decided that I needed a break, I thought I was going to take 2 weeks off, because I was like, okay, it's July, you know, it's the midpoint of the year. I'm going to take some time away from social media and get focused. But when I did that, I felt so lonely. Like, I felt so lonely, and I couldn't believe how I felt when I got off of social media, because I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a hard thing for me to buy into doing it, because it was such a part of my life. But even though that was true, I did not see it as an issue, something that I needed to be mindful of. And so getting off that 2 weeks, a couple of things that I realized. Number one is that because I was so drenched with social media, I realized that I knew a lot about a lot of things I didn't care about. I realized that I just, because what comes across your news feed, and, you know, so you find yourself having opinions and thoughts and everything about stuff that you're never going to go and Google it or find out about it and research it yourself if you had the choice, but because it's right there,
right.
you're doing it, you know? And so I realized that all of my connecting was being done over social media. And even like I have a Facebook, and over Facebook, that's mostly people that I know that are away from me because I live away from everybody. So, you know, but still I realized like I'm not present here where I live with the people that I'm seeing and touching and can see every day. And so what I had to do was to realize the value of my own presence. Everybody's presence has a value. And when you don't allow people to experience you, that's what makes it hard. So even when I talk to some of the people that I mentor who are entrepreneurs, let's just say, and I tell them, social media is a supplement to that. Social media can't be your everything. You have to get out here and let people experience who you are, because that's so much more powerful than reading your post, than seeing your little 30-second minute video. It's so much more value to you than what you can give in those on that platform. I think is very important. I think that it has its value, but you have to have that balance. And when you look to social media, people who don't know you to support you, that's kind of dangerous, because you need to have your circle of support in place. Because when you go out and you allow yourself to be kind of public, you know, you leave yourself to whatever people want to say, and you have to be sure about some things in your heart. So another thing that I had to do was really make sure that I had my allegiance correct as it relates to, I'm a blogger, so I have these things that I want people to see and I want to share. But I had to understand that, you know, it's not about how many people look at something or how many people, you know, but it's about the value that you are having the opportunity to bring to someone's life. So I think that that was really what was important to me. So when I came back on social media, it really hasn't been a big deal, you know, to me. It's like, if I had to walk away from it again, it wouldn't be as hard as it was before, because now I have my people that I connect with, you know, that I have dinner dates with, that I go out with, that are right in town, that I see, you know, that I can share intimate things about my life that I wouldn't just stand on social media platform and share. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's so important for us not to use social media as a point of accountability. It can be a place of encouragement, but people need to know you. Like, you are beautiful, you're great, you have so much to add to the people's lives around you. And so when you have the proper understanding of what you bring, you realize that social media is too small to confine yourself to.
Yes, and I actually was at an event not too long ago in New York, and oh my gosh, the connectedness at this event was 10 times better than us having the same conversation on social media, because you are there in the presence of other people's physical bodies, looking into each other's eyes. Or anytime that I go to any type of networking event, it's such a refreshing feeling of actually sitting there and you're having a real conversation with people, as opposed to sitting there texting on your phone, you know.
Right. And you can actually, I'm sorry. And you can actually build relationships with people on social media. So that's why I'm not a person who's like against it, because I believe you can. But again, it's a supplement. It's a gateway to you maybe developing great relationships and friendships. But then you have to, at some point, you got to take it off of that, and you have to start connecting in a real, you know, face-to-face in my personal environment, inviting you in. So I think that it has its place, but I feel like we have kind of elevated it to this point where it's like that's your life, and it can't be. You know, you have to have life. You have to do life with people who are in your life. You know, it takes a lot of vulnerability, again, that word again, because it does take that. It does take time to develop relationships, and you have to kind of give yourself that time to set the pace. Because for me, I'm like either we just say hi and bye, or like we are deeply close. And I had to learn that there's got to be something in the middle, because you can't just only have those two types of relationships.
Yes. And when social media goes down, on those days when you can't log into your Facebook or your Instagram, what do you do with your time? I remember before I really got heavy into using Facebook to promote my business, the very first thing that came into mind was to go around and to establish relationships with people right here in my community That was just a natural first thought.
Mm.
And no, you're not necessarily going to be able to reach 200 people in a day by doing that. But sometimes the support that you gain from just those few contacts is more important than just the exposure to the 200 people that may or may not care a whole lot about what you have to say. They just happen to come across your content, but that's it. They're scrolling on to the next, you know? And you said something that was key earlier where you don't necessarily need to have the largest circle around you. If you have a group of 3 to 5 people that you're just really that intimate with, that's enough sometimes for some people. As long as those are quality people, that's enough. You know, just somebody that you can vent your vulnerability and your frustrations to. I know that for myself, I can have a 1-hour conversation with one of my closest girls that I know is not going to judge me, and I just feel free after that 1 hour one-on-one communication with one female. You know, so you don't necessarily need a whole entourage around you necessarily to feel that sense of humanness. Can you talk a little bit though about anyone that may have come across you via social media that felt like, oh, you know, I really look forward to your content. You're really encouraging, inspiring to me. And because of you, I decided that I was going to do X, Y, Z. Have you come across anyone like that?
So I've had people direct message me quite often, you know, from something that they've seen that I posted. And then as far as like some of the things that I do on Facebook, so mostly like the direct messaging is like on Instagram, you know, things that I post there. On Facebook, I've had an opportunity to connect with lots of women that I don't know through inviting them to be a part of challenges or things that I do. And then from there, you know, you build this relationship and it's like, wow, you know, you are so important. And some of those people actually reached out to me during my 9 months that I was off of social media, like, where are you? Like, what is going on? You know, I want to see you. So I definitely think that it's very effective and it's valuable, and you can actually build true, real relationships through that, where you can, I mean, life connections. I mean, I have built life connections with people through social media, so I definitely don't knock it because I think that it's so important. It's just that it's a second step to that. It's like you meet somebody through that, and then you have the second step. So yes, I definitely have had people who have reached out to me and they're inspired by something that I say or something that I'm doing, you know, and I have learned that most of what I have to give is just being me, like, you know, and I think that that's what is lost sometimes. Like most of what you have to give is you being you. Your story matters to people. You sharing that matters. It's not anything about you that doesn't matter to somebody. It's just that it's not going to matter to everybody. And we have to just accept that. Everybody don't want to hear what we have to say. We're not going to be able to influence everybody, but there is somebody that everybody is called to, no matter how small you think it is. And I think that's the kicker. If you really realize that influence is a gift and it's not a right, then anybody that you influence is a big deal. Any one person that cares about what's coming out of your mouth or what you're posting or whatever, it becomes valuable to you if you realize that you don't have a right to it anyway. But if you have a spirit of entitlement about it, then you're like, it's not enough. You know, you have somebody say, you know, I posted that and didn't nobody like it. And then I'm like, nobody? Well, like a couple people were am I missing something here? You know, like we can get caught up in these numbers. And one of my favorite parables in the Bible is when the shepherd left the 99 sheep to go and get the one. And it's like sometimes it's that one-on-one. I mean, like you talked about your friend. I have a girlfriend. We meet every month. We have to. It's like no matter what. This year we started meeting every month, and I mean, I look so forward to getting with her, talking to her, and we both just feel like, like yes, you know. And it's not like we're always going deep in our conversation, but it's just. We know, you know, when you know, you just know, you know what I'm saying? And so we have to be able to value one person. So influence is really important, but it is a gift. And it's not something that we can just be like boasting about or prideful about. And when we're not that way, then we realize, okay, anybody that this matters to, so whenever I post something, I'm like, I'm always thinking like, I just want this to encourage somebody, right. and that's it. You know what I mean? Even if they never tell me, if they don't double tap it, if they, but I just need it to be encouraging. And, I'm not going to always know, that it was, and that's okay too. And I think that that's what we have to be okay with, is that you're not always going to, there's plenty of things that I see and I don't always interact with it,
Exactly.
So I imagine it's the same for other people when they see things that I post. So just having that awareness that this is not all of who you are, you know what I mean? And you do need to have, you do have to have your relationships outside of it too.
Yes, and you are so right. There's plenty of things that I see that I don't react to. I just look at it and keep on going to the next. But that doesn't mean that it's not something that influenced me. It's just I didn't feel like engaging on it. So I think that more things are seen and noticed than not. You just have to know that it's going to reach the right people. That's all it's really about. Also, I think that if anything, in my industry, particularly in the health and wellness world, people are not always necessarily going to comment and like and all of that because they don't want to put their health business out there, because that could be a very sensitive subject. But that doesn't mean that they're not looking at every single thing that I put out. So you kind of have to just put it out there knowing that the right people are going to be attracted to it. And I've had people, as a matter of fact, yesterday, a female made a post in my Nutrition for Busy Women group about how she's lost about 32 pounds over the course of a little over than a year. And it was because of the encouragement from not only my group, but other people's groups and before and afters and all of that. And a lot of these people don't know this. They don't know that she's following them and that they are her encouragement. And here she's posting her before and after now, and she's just a whole new woman, So I think that just doing what we do and being authentic about it. I'm all about authenticity. A lot of times people will say different things to me or compliment different things. And in my mind, I'm looking at it like, I'm just living my life. I'm glad it's inspiring to you, but really, right? I'm just showing you videos and pictures of my life. I don't feel like I'm doing anything like so, like I'm not trying too hard. I'm just living my life. And if I feel like, oh, that's something that I want to take a picture of or a video of, I just put it out there, So I think that just embracing who you are and the right people will always be attracted to that, Sometimes I used to put out stuff that would intentionally weed out the people that I didn't want in my tribe. Not intentionally like trying to be mean, but I just spoke my truth. I spoke what I wanted to say, and if it didn't resonate with somebody, then they were going to discontinue following me, and I'm okay with that. I'm so okay, because I can't be for everybody. If I was for everybody, I'd be burnt out. I wouldn't have a social life,
Okay, you don't even have it in you to be for everybody.
There's always somebody for someone.
Yeah, there is. And the other thing about that posting thing is, does it influence you?
Yeah.
Does it spark you? Does it mean something to you? Did you get something out of it? And that's what I think when you mindlessly post stuff or put stuff out there, that's the part that's concerning, because if it doesn't resonate with you, if it's not encouraging you, if it's not something that's changed your life, then what did you put it up for? Because it's gonna do what it's done for you. And so that's what I also try to do, is the thoughts that I have, that I share that with other people, is lots of times is what I have learned, what I'm learning. I always tell the ladies that I interact with all the time in my women's community, like, I'm on a journey with you. Like, I'm not the person who's overcome all these things, but I'm also not a person who's afraid to talk about what I've been through and what I'm going through and what I'm learning. And I think that those are the people that are most attractive to us, are people who will allow us to go on the journey. And these people I've been on a journey with for 5 years, but they don't know every single thing about me, but they know so much about me and I know so much about them because it's reciprocated, because we you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is so key, what you just said. It's a reciprocal relationship. I actually just wrote a blog article about that not too long ago, that none of us are really above anybody. We're all the same. We have different gifts. We're all the same. And I think that we can learn from each other. So you looking at me like I'm up here really, no, we're right here. You could teach me just as much as I could teach you. You're just teaching me in a different area that I might not be as knowledgeable in. And I think that once we start to look at it that way, that we're all working together in this world, we're all in this world at this specific point in history to help each other. Just helping each other in different areas. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your presence today and all of the gems that you've given us. And I could just tell that you are an inspiration to your community. So keep doing what you're doing. And I want for people to connect with you on social media. Don't get off too soon. Stay on for at least a little while so that people have an opportunity to connect with you a little bit, see what you're about. But you guys, I want for you to connect with her, because when you're having those days where you're not encouraged and you're not motivated, being around people that can help lift you up is key. And too many times we feel like, as Delanea said, that we might be all alone in our situation, and we're not. So when you have an opportunity to be around people that you know are passionate about what they provide to humanity, keep those people in your circle. All her contact info will be in the description box. And Delanea, if you have any upcoming projects or other things that you would like to collaborate with people on, please feel free to do another one of these episodes with me. And for anyone that's listening, if I'm sure you're open to people contacting you as well to collaborate with you and the women that you serve as well, right?
I am. Thank you so much. And I do want to say thank you so much, Ebonie. Like, I really, really appreciate this opportunity to share your platform. And I'm just really excited about what you're doing. I'm excited about what is happening around us. And I think that, if we all can realize our value and realize that we all have something to give, I think that the world is going to be so awesome, especially as women, when we really demonstrate this idea of lending our hands to each other. The things that I'm great at, giving that to you, and what you're good at, giving that to me, and just it makes it go around. So thank you so much for even thinking of me and giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Very welcome. And for those of you that are interested in also sharing your story, please feel free to contact me, because we need more of this. And I am not going to close you off from whatever you want to share. As long as you feel like that's something that has impacted you, that can be a positive influence to women around the world, I look forward to inviting you as well onto the show. You guys have an awesome rest of the day wherever you are in the world. All of my contact info, again, is in the description box. If you're looking to also join a community of like-minded women, feel free to join my Nutrition for Busy Women group. Let me just clarify that it's not nutrition from the food consumption only standpoint. It's nutrition for our mind, body, and soul. So if you're looking to be around a bunch of purpose-driven, supportive, encouraging women, I invite you to join us as well. You guys have an awesome rest of the day, and I look forward to connecting with you in our next episode. I'll talk to you soon.